The story begins in a small, bustling courtroom on a rainy Tuesday morning. 10-year-old Maya Johnson sits nervously beside her older brother Marcus as they wait for their case to be called. Their mother is nowhere to be seen. She has been absent from their lives for months now, leaving the siblings to fend for themselves. The air inside the room feels heavy with tension, mixed with the faint smell of damp wood and old papers. Maya fidgets with the hem of her faded blue sweater while Marcus stares straight ahead, his jaw clenched tightly. They've already spent hours waiting, surrounded by strangers who occasionally glance at them with curiosity or pity. Some whisper softly about how young the two children look, but no one approaches them. It's clear that life hasn't been kind to these kids lately. The courtroom itself isn't much to look at. A plain wooden bench where people sit, rows of chairs filled with anxious faces, and a raised platform where the judge presides over cases. A large clock ticks loudly above the door, each second stretching out like an eternity. Outside, raindrops patter against the windows, creating streaks of water that blur the view of the gray city streets beyond. As the minutes drag on, Maya's stomach lets out a soft growl. She tries to ignore it, pressing her hands against her belly as if she can will the hunger away. But it doesn't work. Her last meal was yesterday, a piece of stale bread Marcus had found tucked away in the corner of their nearly empty apartment. Even then, he'd insisted she eat it all, saying he wasn't hungry. Maya knew better. She could see the dark circles under his eyes and the way his clothes hung loosely on his thin frame. Finally, after what feels like forever, the bailiff calls their names. Case number 427, State versus Marcus and Maya Johnson, he announces in a deep official voice. Marcus stands first, gently pulling Maya up with him. Together, they shuffle toward the front of the room, their worn sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. Every step feels heavier than the last, weighed down by fear and uncertainty. Judge Thompson, a tall man with graying hair and sharp features, looks up from his notes as the siblings approach. His expression is stern, almost intimidating, but there's something else hidden beneath the surface, a flicker of curiosity perhaps, or maybe even concern. He adjusts his glasses and clears his throat before speaking. Young man, you are here today because your guardianship status is under review. Do you understand? Marcus nods quickly, though his hands tremble slightly at his sides. Beside him, Maya shifts uncomfortably, clutching her brother's arm for support. She wants to say something, to explain why they're always so tired, why their clothes don't fit right, why they haven't eaten properly in days. But the words get stuck in her throat. Instead, she keeps her gaze fixed on the floor, trying not to cry. Just when it seems like things couldn't get any worse, Judge Thompson leans forward slightly, studying the children more closely. His eyes land on Maya's pale face and the way she wraps her arms around herself protectively. Something stirs within him, a memory maybe, or just a pang of empathy. Whatever it is, it prompts him to ask a question no one expects. Miss, he says, addressing Maya directly, are you feeling all right? For a moment, everyone in the courtroom goes silent. All eyes turn to the little girl standing nervously in front of the judge. Maya hesitates, unsure whether to answer honestly. Then, summoning every ounce of courage she has, she whispers, I'm hungry. Her voice is barely audible, yet it carries through the quiet room like a thunderclap. Gasps ripple through the crowd, followed by murmurs of disbelief. No one knows what to make of this unexpected admission, or what the judge will do next, and neither does Maya. The courtroom falls eerily silent after Maya's soft confession. Her words hang in the air, fragile and raw, as if they might shatter at any moment. Judge Thompson leans back in his chair, his eyes narrowing slightly as he studies the little girl standing before him. For a man known for his stern demeanor and strict adherence to procedure, this is uncharted territory. He's used to hearing arguments about legal technicalities, not heartfelt admissions of hunger from a child. Maya shifts uncomfortably under the weight of everyone's stares. She feels small, smaller than she ever has before, and her cheeks flush with embarrassment. Beside her, Marcus instinctively steps closer, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. His jaw tightens as he glares at the judge, silently daring him to say something harsh. But instead of scolding or dismissing her, Judge Thompson does something unexpected. "Hungry?" he repeats, his voice softer now, almost gentle. "When was the last time you ate, young lady?" Maya hesitates, unsure whether it's safe to answer honestly. When she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. "Yesterday morning. Maybe." A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Some people exchange concerned glances, others look away, unable to bear the weight of what they're hearing. Even the bailiff, who usually maintains a stoic expression, seems visibly shaken. This isn't just another case. It's a glimpse into a reality far removed from the polished walls of the courthouse. Judge Thompson removes his glasses and sets them down carefully on the desk. He takes a deep breath, his mind racing. As a former social worker before becoming a judge, he knows all too well how poverty can tear families apart. Yet seeing it up close, in the form of two vulnerable children standing before him, hits harder than he anticipated. Something inside him stirs, a mix of anger, sadness, and determination. Turning to his assistant, Judge Thompson gives a quiet instruction. "Please bring me the folder on their case," he says firmly. Then, without missing a beat, he adds, "And someone find these children something to eat. Now." His words echo through the room, startling everyone, including Marcus and Maya. Within moments, a court clerk hurries out of the room, returning shortly with a sandwich wrapped in paper and a bottle of juice. She hands them to Maya, who looks up at her brother uncertainly. Marcus nods, giving her permission to accept the food. With trembling hands, Maya unwraps the sandwich and takes a cautious bite. The simple act of eating brings tears to her eyes, not just because she's hungry, but because someone cared enough to notice. Meanwhile, Judge Thompson flips through the pages of the siblings' file, his brow furrowing deeper with each line. He reads, "The details are heartbreaking. Neglectful parents, frequent moves between foster homes, missed school days, and mounting debts." It's clear that Maya and Marcus have been slipping through the cracks of the system for far too long. And now here they are in his courtroom looking to him for answers. "This cannot continue," Judge Thompson mutters under his breath, more to himself than anyone else. Raising his voice so the entire room can hear, he addresses Marcus directly. "Young man, I understand your situation is complicated, but tell me, what do you want? What would make things better for you and your sister?" Marcus blinks, caught off guard by the question. No one has ever asked him what he wants before. Most adults seem content to decide for him, treating him like a problem to be solved rather than a person with thoughts and feelings. For a moment he struggles to find the right words. Then, speaking slowly but firmly, he says, "I just want us to be safe, and to have a place where we don't have to worry about being hungry." His honesty strikes a chord with everyone present. Even the bailiff, who rarely shows emotion, nods approvingly. Judge Thompson leans forward, resting his elbows on the desk. "All right then," he says, his tone resolute. "Let's figure out how to make that happen." As the proceedings continue, whispers spread throughout the courtroom. People speculate about what the judge might do next. Will he assign the children to yet another foster home? Or will he take matters into his own hands? Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain. Judge Thompson's decision will change Maya and Marcus's lives forever. For now, though, Maya focuses on finishing her sandwich. Each bite fills her belly, and in some small way soothes her weary heart. As the courtroom buzzes with quiet anticipation, Judge Thompson leans back in his chair, his fingers steepled thoughtfully under his chin. His gaze shifts between Maya and Marcus, studying them not as cases to be resolved but as children who deserve a chance at a better life. The weight of their situation presses heavily on him, but it also fuels his determination to act. "Mr. Johnson," he begins, addressing Marcus directly, "you seem like a responsible young man. Tell me, how have you managed to take care of your sister all this time?" Marcus hesitates, unsure whether answering honestly will reflect poorly on him. But something about the judge's tone reassures him. Taking a deep breath, he speaks, slowly, choosing his words carefully. I do what I can. Sometimes I skip meals so Maya can eat. I try to keep her safe even when things get hard. His admission sends another ripple through the room. Some people exchange glances while others look away, unable to face the harsh reality of what these children endure daily. Judge Thompson nods solemnly, his expression softening further. That takes courage, he says quietly, more than most adults possess. For the first time that day, Marcus feels seen, not as a burden or a troubled kid, but as someone trying his best against impossible odds. It's a small victory, but one that gives him hope. Turning his attention to the court clerk, Judge Thompson issues another unexpected instruction. Contact Child Protective Services immediately. Request an emergency meeting to discuss alternative arrangements for these children. And notify the local food bank. We need provisions delivered to their current residents by tomorrow morning. The clerk nods briskly and hurries out of the room to carry out the orders. Meanwhile, Judge Thompson turns back to Maya and Marcus. In the meantime, he continues, is there anyone you trust? Someone who has shown kindness to you both before? Maya looks up at her brother, unsure how to answer. Marcus thinks for a moment, then shakes his head. Not really, he admits. We've moved around so much, it's hard to rely on anyone. Judge Thompson frowns, clearly troubled by their lack of support. Then, after a brief pause, he makes a decision that shocks everyone, including himself. If no one else is available to step in, perhaps I should consider becoming personally involved. The statement drops like a stone into still water. Gasps erupt throughout the courtroom. Even Marcus and Maya stare at the judge in stunned silence. No one expects a figure of authority to go beyond the usual protocols, to step outside the boundaries of their role. But here Judge Thompson stands, ready to do just that. One of the attorneys seated nearby clears her throat nervously. Your Honor, she interjects, are you certain this is appropriate? Involving yourself directly could set a complicated precedent. Judge Thompson doesn't flinch. Instead, he meets her gaze steadily. Appropriate or not, these children need help now, not next week, not after months of paperwork. If the system isn't equipped to provide immediate solutions, then maybe it's time we rethink how we operate. His words resonate deeply, silencing any further objections. For the first time in years, the rigid walls of bureaucracy begin to crack, allowing compassion to seep through. Turning back to the siblings, Judge Thompson adopts a gentler tone. Listen to me, both of you. You're stronger than you realize. Whatever happens moving forward, know that you won't face it alone. We'll find a way to make sure you're safe, fed, and cared for. Tears well up in Maya's eyes, though she tries to blink them away. She's heard promises like this before, only to have them broken. But there's something different about Judge Thompson, something genuine in the way he speaks and looks at them. Before dismissing the case temporarily, Judge Thompson announces his final order for the day. Court is adjourned until further notice. In the meantime, I want regular updates on the children's situation, and someone ensure they leave here today with enough supplies to last until tomorrow. As the gavel falls, the courtroom erupts into murmurs once again. People whisper about the judge's boldness, wondering if he's overstepped his bounds or if he's simply doing what's right. Either way, one thing is clear. Judge Thompson's actions have sparked a chain reaction that will change lives forever. For Maya and Marcus, however, the day ends on a hopeful note. As they walk out of the courthouse holding hands, they feel, for the first time in a long while, that someone truly cares. The days following the courtroom scene pass quickly for Maya and Marcus, though they feel like a blur. Judge Thompson's intervention sets off a whirlwind of activity. Social workers visit their tiny apartment, bringing bags of groceries and fresh clothes. Volunteers from the local food bank deliver meals twice a day, ensuring the siblings never go hungry again, at least not for now. For the first time in months, Maya sleeps soundly at night, her stomach full and her heart lighter. But despite the immediate relief, Uncertainty still lingers. Marcus spends most of his time pacing the small living room, staring out the window, as if waiting for something or someone to arrive. He knows that Judge Thompson's promises are only temporary solutions. What happens next? Will they be sent to yet another foster home? Or will the judge follow through on his surprising offer to become personally involved? One afternoon, as Maya sits cross-legged on the floor drawing pictures with crayons donated by a community center, there's a knock at the door. Marcus opens it cautiously, half expecting another stranger bearing paperwork or questions. Instead, he finds Judge Thompson standing there, dressed in casual clothes rather than his usual formal robes. In his hands, he holds a brown paper bag filled with sandwiches and fruit. "Good afternoon," the judge says warmly, stepping inside after Marcus hesitantly invites him in. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." Maya looks up from her drawings, her eyes widening in surprise. She wasn't sure she'd ever see the judge again outside the courtroom. To her, he seemed almost larger than life, a figure of authority who could disappear back into the system once the gavel fell. But here he is, standing in their modest apartment, looking more human than she imagined. "I brought lunch," Judge Thompson continues, setting the bag down on the kitchen counter. "And I wanted to check in on you both. How are things going?" Marcus shrugs, unsure how to respond. Things are better than they were before, but better doesn't mean perfect. The electricity bill is overdue, the landlord has been calling about rent, and the cracks in the ceiling seem to grow wider every day. Still, he appreciates the effort. "It's okay," he says finally. "Thanks for asking." Judge Thompson nods, his sharp eyes scanning the room. He notices the peeling wallpaper, the mismatched furniture, and the faint smell of mildew. It's clear that this place is far from ideal for two growing children, yet what strikes him most is the resilience he sees in their faces, especially Marcus's. Despite everything, the boy carries himself with quiet strength, determined to protect his sister no matter what. After a moment, Judge Thompson pulls out a chair at the rickety kitchen table and gestures for the siblings to join him. "Let's talk," he says gently. "No pressure, just conversation. Tell me, what would your perfect day look like? If you could wake up tomorrow and have everything exactly as you want it, what would that be?" Maya tilts her head thoughtfully, considering the question. After a pause, she smiles shyly. "I'd want pancakes for breakfast," she says softly. "And maybe we'd have a big backyard where I could play without worrying about cars." Marcus adds his own thoughts after a moment of hesitation. Safe place," he says firmly. "Somewhere we don't have to keep moving all the time, and maybe someone who actually cares about us, not because it's their job, but because they want to." His words hang in the air, simple yet profound. Judge Thompson listens intently, letting them sink in. When he speaks again, his voice is steady but filled with resolve. "You deserve all of that and more, and I promise you we're going to make it happen." He explains that he's working with Child Protective Services to find a long-term solution. Foster care might still be an option, but he's also exploring alternatives, including guardianship arrangements with trusted individuals in the community. If nothing else works, he hints at the possibility of becoming their legal guardian himself. The idea startles both children. They've spent so much of their lives being passed from one temporary home to another that the concept of stability feels almost foreign. Yet deep down, they dare to hope. As Judge Thompson leaves later that evening, he pauses at the doorway. "Remember," he says, turning back to face them, "you're not alone anymore. We'll get through this together." For the first time in a long while, Marcus and Maya believe him. Over the next few weeks, Judge Thompson becomes a regular presence in Maya and Marcus's lives. At first, his visits are brief, a quick stop to drop off groceries or check on their well-being, but gradually he begins staying longer. He sits with them at the kitchen table, sharing simple meals and listening intently as they talk about their day. Sometimes he brings games or books, encouraging Maya to read aloud while Marcus watches with quiet pride. The change is subtle, but undeniable. For the first time in years, the siblings feel seen, not as problems to be solved, but as individuals with dreams, fears, and hopes. Judge Thompson doesn't just ask questions. He listens. And when he speaks, his words carry weight because they're backed by action. Every promise he makes, from arranging tutoring sessions for Maya to helping Marcus find a part-time job after school, he keeps. But trust isn't built overnight. Marcus remains cautious, wary of letting his guard down completely. He's been disappointed too many times before, betrayed by adults who promised to help but ultimately walked away. Even now, as Judge Thompson sits across from him, patiently explaining the steps being taken to secure their future, Marcus struggles to believe that this time will be different. "Why are you doing all this?" Marcus finally asks one evening, his voice tinged with both curiosity and skepticism. "You don't have to. You could have just sent us somewhere else and moved on." Judge Thompson pauses, considering the question carefully. Then, leaning forward slightly, he replies, "Because it's the right thing to do. Because no child should have to endure what you two have gone through. And because I think you deserve better, not just from me, but from the world." His answer catches Marcus off guard. It's honest, straightforward, and free of pretense. For the first time, Marcus allows himself to entertain the possibility that maybe, just maybe, this man truly cares. Meanwhile, Maya blossoms under the judge's attention. With regular meals and access to resources she never had before, her energy returns, and so does her laughter. She starts attending a local community center where volunteers teach art classes, and soon her drawings fill the walls of their apartment. Each picture tells a story. Sunny meadows, smiling faces, and houses with big backyards, visions of the life she longs for. One Saturday afternoon, Judge Thompson arrives with an unexpected surprise. "I thought we'd go somewhere today," he announces, holding up 2 backpacks stuffed with snacks and water bottles. "Just the 3 of us, what do you say?" Maya claps her hands excitedly, while Marcus hesitates, unsure what to expect. But when the judge explains they're heading to a nearby park, a place neither sibling has visited in years, Marcus reluctantly agrees. The outing proves transformative. As they walk along tree-lined paths, Maya giggles as squirrels dart across their path, while Marcus finds himself relaxing for the first time in ages. They even play a game of frisbee, laughing as Judge Thompson fumbles a catch. On the drive home, Maya falls asleep in the back seat, her head resting against the window. Marcus glances at her in the rearview mirror, then turns to Judge Thompson. "Thank you," he says quietly, almost shyly, "for everything." The judge smiles, though there's a hint of sadness in his eyes. He knows the road ahead won't always be smooth. There are still challenges to face, legal hurdles, financial struggles, and the lingering scars of their past. But for now, progress is being made, however small. That night, as Marcus tucks Maya into bed, she looks up at him sleepily. "Do you think things will stay like this?" she whispers. Marcus hesitates, then nods. "Maybe," he says softly. For once, I think they might. And for the first time in a long while, he believes it too. Weeks turn into months, and life for Maya and Marcus begins to take on a rhythm they've never known before. Judge Thompson continues to play an integral role in their lives, but he's no longer just a figure of authority. He's become something more. To Maya, he's the man who brings laughter and surprises. To Marcus, he's the steady guide helping them navigate a world that once felt overwhelmingly cruel. Yet even as stability starts to settle around them, challenges remain. One chilly November morning, Judge Thompson arrives at their apartment with news. He sits down at the kitchen table, his expression serious but kind. "There's been some progress regarding your case," he begins, looking between Maya and Marcus. "Child Protective Services has reviewed all the options, and we've narrowed it down to 2 possibilities." Maya stops coloring mid-stroke, her crayon hovering over the page. Marcus stiffens, his hands gripping the edge of the table. They've heard this phrase before, options, and it always leads to uncertainty. "What are they?" Marcus asks, his voice tight. Judge Thompson takes a deep breath. "The first option is placement with a foster family. They're good people, experienced caregivers who've worked with children in similar situations. It would mean moving out of this apartment and starting fresh somewhere new. Marcus frowns, his jaw tightening. Moving again? Leaving behind the fragile sense of safety they've built? The thought makes his stomach churn. And the second option? He presses, already dreading the answer. The second option, Judge Thompson says slowly, meeting their eyes with unwavering sincerity, is guardianship. With me. I've spoken with my supervisors, and they've approved the arrangement. If you're both comfortable with it, I'd like to become your legal guardian. The room falls silent. Maya's mouth drops open in surprise while Marcus stares at the judge, searching for any sign of hesitation or insincerity. But there's none. Judge Thompson's face is calm, resolute, and full of quiet determination. You don't have to decide right now, he adds quickly, sensing their shock. Take your time. Think about what feels best for both of you. For the rest of the day, the siblings wrestle with the decision. Maya is ecstatic at the idea of staying with Judge Thompson. She adores his kindness, the way he listens to her, stories, and how he always seems to know when she needs cheering up. I want to stay with him, she declares firmly to her brother. He's nice, and he cares about us. But Marcus is torn. On one hand, the judge has proven himself trustworthy, more than any adult ever has. On the other hand, relying so completely on someone else feels terrifying. What if things change? What if Judge Thompson grows tired of them? These fears gnaw at him, keeping him awake long after Maya falls asleep. The next morning, Marcus decides to confront his doubts head-on. When Judge Thompson arrives for his usual visit, Marcus pulls him aside. "Why us?" he blurts out, his voice trembling slightly. "You could have walked away after that day in court. Why didn't you?" Judge Thompson doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he looks at Marcus with a mixture of understanding and compassion. "Because I see myself in you," he admits quietly. "When I was younger, I had to fight for everything, too. I lost people I loved, faced hardships I thought I'd never overcome. And I swore that if I ever found myself in a position to help someone else, I wouldn't turn away." His honesty disarms Marcus. For the first time, he realizes that Judge Thompson isn't doing this out of obligation or pity. It's personal. This revelation chips away at Marcus's walls of doubt, leaving space for trust to grow. Later that evening, as Maya curls up beside him on the couch, Marcus finally speaks. "What do you think, Maya? Should we stay with Judge Thompson?" She nods eagerly, her eyes shining with hope. "Yes, please, Marcus, he's our family now." Her words hit Marcus like a wave, washing away the last of his resistance. Family, a word he hasn't dared to use in years. But maybe, just maybe, it's true. The next day, they tell Judge Thompson their decision. His smile is warm, relieved, and deeply grateful. "Thank you for trusting me," he says softly. "We'll get through this together." And for the first time in a very long time, Marcus believes him wholeheartedly. The months that follow bring a whirlwind of changes, but they're not the chaotic, fear-filled transitions Maya and Marcus once dreaded. Instead, their lives transform in ways neither of them could have imagined. Judge Thompson, now officially their guardian, moves them into his cozy home on the outskirts of town. It's modest but warm, with a backyard big enough for Maya to run around and play. For the first time in years, they have a place to call their own. Maya thrives in her new environment. With access to regular meals, medical care, and educational support, she blossoms into a confident, curious child. Her drawings now decorate the walls of their new house, each piece telling a story of hope and resilience. She even joins an after-school art program, where her creativity earns praise from teachers and peers alike. The shy girl who once clung to her brother's side has grown into a bright, cheerful presence wherever she goes. Marcus, too, finds his footing. He takes pride in helping Judge Thompson around the house, whether it's mowing the lawn or fixing a leaky faucet. At school, he begins to excel academically, driven by the knowledge that someone believes in him. In the evenings, he helps Maya with her homework, guiding her patiently as she tackles math problems or practices reading aloud. Watching her succeed fills him with a sense of purpose he's never felt before. But perhaps the most profound change is the bond they share with Judge Thompson, or Uncle Ben as Maya insists on calling him. Over dinners filled with laughter and stories, the three of them grow closer, forming a family built not on blood but on trust, love, and mutual respect. Judge Thompson teaches them about responsibility and resilience, while Maya and Marcus remind him of the joy and wonder that life can hold, even after hardship. One crisp spring afternoon, Judge Thompson surprises them with a picnic in the backyard. As they sit together under the shade of a large oak tree, Maya tugs at his sleeve excitedly. "Uncle Ben, guess what I drew today?" she asks, pulling out a folded sheet of paper from her pocket. He unfolds it carefully, revealing a colorful picture of their house surrounded by flowers and sunshine. In bold letters across the top, it reads, "Our happy home." Judge Thompson smiles, his eyes glistening slightly. "This is beautiful, Maya," he says softly. "It looks just like our home." "It is our home," Marcus adds, looking around at the yard, the house, and the people sitting beside him. His voice carries a quiet certainty, a reflection of the peace he's finally found. Later that evening, as the sun dips below the horizon, Judge Thompson sits alone on the porch, watching Maya chase fireflies in the fading light. Marcus joins him, carrying 2 cups of hot chocolate. "Here," he says, handing one to the judge. "You deserve it." Judge Thompson chuckles, accepting the cup gratefully. "Thank you," he replies. After a moment of silence, he turns to Marcus. "Do you think we did okay?" Marcus hesitates, then nods slowly. "More than okay," he says firmly. "You saved us, Uncle Ben. You gave us a second chance." Judge Thompson shakes his head gently. "No, Marcus. We saved each other." As the stars begin to twinkle in the night sky, the world feels a little brighter for all three of them. They've come so far, from hunger and uncertainty to a life filled with love and possibility. And though challenges may still lie ahead, they face them together, united by the unbreakable bond they've forged. For Maya and Marcus, this isn't just the end of their old lives, it's the beginning of something extraordinary.